Feels like ancient history at this point, eh, Coasterometer? Yeah, the good old days when we weren't trying so hard to figure out who we are and why we're here, what to look forward to, and what... Oh shit! They added more levels! Rollercoasters. Well, the Epic brothers come to show us what they've got. Again. Well, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't actually curious to see what's become of these two titans of coasterness. Time to once again test their epicness, and my stomach, in a head-to-head battle. Let's dive in, shall we? In keeping with tradition, we'll start with epic roller coasters. Look at all these levels. They've been busy. Okay, I'm genuinely surprised this game is still getting so much content. Nonetheless, branded content like this? That's pretty epic. But let's see whether these new levels actually hold up against their past and Epic Fun's future. A short and extremely curly ride through a historical monument, Stonehenge is a rather silly ride, at least for those who aren't deathly afraid of little gray aliens. Okay, just a quick interlude here, because I forgot to actually talk about it while I was writing the script. Yeah, so they added one new character to ride in the coasters, and it's this freaky fucking rabbit, and he does not shut the fuck up. Okay, back to the video. Peeking out from behind the grey stones, stealing away with some poor sheep, or making the best of a night out. These little bastards are a fun gimmick to turn this coaster from an okay location to an entertaining ride. I will say though, this ride was quick to start the countdown on how long my stomach could handle this return to VR coaster action. I'm not sure if it's the sharp jerking turns or the abundance of loops, but I was honestly reeling by the end of my full run of these levels. Regardless, a lovely start to my time back in this personal hell. Sun, smiles, and holy shit, that's a fucking drop! Hidden Paradise starts so unassuming, a peaceful neighborhood of vacation homes, some swimwear models from a PS1 game, and then tells you to go completely and utterly fuck yourself as it drops you hundreds of feet off a cliff to the beach. This is by far one of the best coasters in the game for use of space to handle speed. Long drops followed by stretches of coasting, pun intended, along the sand and surf. There's decent variety of activity to look at, allowing this to be a spectacle ride as well as a genuine thrill coaster. There was also a really funny moment coming back around where you realize that in most of these coasters, they only run the spectacle animations the first time, and then a lot of it either despawns or entirely freezes. A true claim to epic fame. Kelimutu is a cool idea, but going from the speed and spectacle of the previous ride to this slower sprint over some not exactly pretty renderings of the Kelimutu volcano crater lakes is a bit disappointing. There's some sprinkled NPCs on vacation, a cute little camping setup at the beginning, a photographer here and there, an asshole on a bike who jumps in front of you, actually also on the repeat runs too, but nothing much really happens, which leaves you hoping for something cool to look at. But beyond the simple mountain skybox that stretches for an impressive distance, the actual crater lakes themselves are less than inspiring sights. Not a bad ride, but certainly not epic. I'll be honest, I was worried that the Arctic setting would be a little boring, perhaps just a spiral around a glacier covered in robotic penguins. However, the developers did add a few little spices here and there to make this ride much more enjoyable. Okay, it is pretty much a long bit of spiraling a glacier and looking at robotic penguins, but the penguins aren't the only wildlife on display. This immediately bumped a couple stars up for me, and this bumped another star. A fun, if maybe underutilized location, Antarctica was still a fun ride with some silly little critters. Bleth, A Slovenian resort town in the foothills of the Julian Alps is set along the glacial Lake Bled. On a cliff overlooking the lake is the 11th century Bled Castle, which houses a museum, chapel, and printing press. Atop a small island in the lake's center is the pilgrimage church of the Assumption of Maria, with its steep staircase and bell tower. Thank you, Wikipedia. This was a funny location for a roller coaster, very much leaning into the bizarre hellscape of a world where they'd also build a roller coaster over a graveyard. There's quite a bit of activity from a host of vacationers, as well as a wedding party, again making me question the validity and morality of building a roller coaster here. Aside from the strange setting, this was still a lovely little ride, and made me learn more about a cute little historical site. Listen here, fuckers. I specifically chose not to ride with any side characters. Get this freak off of my coaster! Yellowstone set in prehistoric times is a really cool idea, leaning towards the Jurassic Park level we had last time in terms of a fun setting. But the final result has a few little nitpicks for me. The mammoths are cool to see running around. Elephantine creatures, essentially land whales, are an immediate plus in my book. The cavemen are wild and definitely interactive, as you can see, throwing spears right past my face on more than one occasion, and yes, as you saw, being a fucking freak and jumping onto the coaster itself, one of the only times this game has had such a direct interaction. However, on closer inspection, the ride itself is a bit tame, not quite made up for by the somewhat limited spectacle on display. The actual design of the level itself is also a bit faltering, not really being much to look at without the critters populating it. This particular issue is also compounded by this level's decision to follow in the shadow of coasters with lots of action, and then nothing on the repeat run. There's just no one there if you decide to ride again. So the pretty boring ride and visual design pretty quickly ruin any interest in sticking around after the short sprint through a Neolithic moment. Not terrible, but it's just not quite there. The newest addition to this game's roster, appearing just under a month ago as of time of recording, the Brazilian Dunes Rally is a blast of action. There's so many motorcycles and buggies speeding around your coaster, you don't really need much activity from your own ride to feel the thrill, but you are given a few fun loops and turns alongside the racers so you feel more involved. Also, towards the end, everything just turns to chaos and people start crashing and exploding, which makes for a pretty fun climax. The actual level itself is kind of boring to look at, being just a long stretch of sun-bleached sand, but with the constant rev of engines and vehicles at every turn, you're given plenty to make up for it. A truly epic ride. So, I don't know how I missed this one. I don't think I saw it in my list of levels, or maybe I'm just blind, but I didn't realize until writing this script that I didn't get a recording for it. However, there is something funny as hell that I want to point out here. This level is a Candyland, a Willy Wonka-esque ride, right? And in the very description of the level, right here, it's taking place in an abandoned shed that looks at least a little sketch, right? When did this come out? Oh my god, did they predict or did they inspire the Wonka Experience disaster? Epic Roller Coasters, B4T Games. We've got questions, and we demand answers. And now to the biggest surprise of this return to this bizarre game. That's right. They got SpongeBob SquarePants money to make a set of 5 levels in Bikini Bottom. Naturally, as this is a 3D experience, they're animated and modeled to look more akin to the Battle for Bikini Bottom game rather than the 2D style of the show, but they did a pretty good job with bringing it all to life. There's a couple of odd things, like the fact that there's no dialogue or music, which makes it all feel just kind of off. But I suppose that's a bit more SpongeBob SquarePants money than they had at their disposal, so I'll cut them some slack, because for the most part, these rides were still pretty cool. I am unfortunately one of those dorks who looks back fondly on old school SpongeBob, so it was quite a bit of nostalgia to be encased in here. Each ride is also nearly 4 minutes long, so there's quite a bit of action for each coaster, and they do a pretty good job of keeping things interesting at every moment, having not only a lot of SpongeBob's world to look at while you fly 110 miles per hour along each of the tracks, but also loads of activity from various fish people and the titular character and his friends. First up, Glove World, a wildly well-made ride rushing through a huge variety of styles and locations, from acting like a new guest entering the park, to hopping on the kiddie rides, to scaling a cartoonishly big drop that literally takes you out of the water to see the iconic island above Bikini Bottom, to blazing through rides so dangerous you'd think Plankton himself designed them. You are constantly moving to new experiences from the same all-encompassing ride, and it doesn't hurt to set the roller coaster game in an amusement park setting within a childhood favorite cartoon. Following that exciting exhibition is one you could almost call a story-based level in a roller coaster game. There's even a couple of fade to black transitions for an opening cutscene. It's just wild. Plankton has stolen the Krabby Patty's secret formula, as usual, and it's up to you and SpongeBob and Patrick to stop him. How, you may ask? With a fucking gun, of course! This ride decided to also throw a character on the coaster I'm on, which, even though he's a fucking children's cartoon, is no less upsetting. A less populated, but still wildly entertaining ride in this animated world. Next, a beach trip, the second one in this video, but this time to Goo Lagoon. There's a lot less going on here than in the Glove World level, but it's still plenty more active than a lot of the base game levels. And there's some fun set pieces, like a quagmire of wrecked ships and a gigantic sandcastle that you actually get to ride around through. My only real complaint is that you absolutely rocket past the Muscle Beach section, and you don't get to appreciate the short bit of vocals and sound effects that they recorded for the swole fish pumping iron. It doesn't matter, but I just thought it would have been funny. The fourth level, a really wild ride through a ship graveyard at night, turns into getting shanghaied by the Flying Dutchman himself. Shanghaied, top 3 SpongeBob episodes. Fight me. This one was essentially a SpongeBob version of the Haunted Mansion level from the last run-through. Lots of moving parts, some transition scenes with ghostly haze to cover you being moved from one little set piece to another, and the Flying Dutchman himself showing up at a couple of odd times to try and spook you. Though between being a cartoon and, again, lacking any vocals and barely any sound effects, it just kinda silly. Still, a really fun ride. And the final ride of this set, and the entire game at time of recording, a bobsled race turned death rally thanks to Plankton's literal gun he strapped to his sled. This was probably the least interesting out of the whole set, as the lack of vocals makes this ride a strange silent movie of waving characters, cartoonish deaths of random unfortunates, and that's it, really. It's mostly a repetition of the same short scene of Plankton trying to kill you while SpongeBob and Patrick bounce around and off the track into shortcuts and ramps. I will say, the goofy gimmick of Mr. Krabs tearing the trophy to pieces so he can keep one for himself is pretty on point, but overall, this was definitely the least interesting of the SpongeBob pack. And there you have it! What a showing from Epic Roller Coasters. Though, what did we expect? They are still our reigning champion of epicness between these two brother titles after 2 separate, contentious competitions. Speaking of, it's time to turn our gaze towards epic fun. Hopefully, they've made some strides to improve and can give us a good show themselves that they're not just some wretched abandonware. I mean, surely... Oh. Okay. Well, it seems as though Epic Fun is a complete no-show to this match. God damn. You know, again, it's so wild to see a game that was released by the same company a decent bit after the original not only completely abandoned, but that the previous title is receiving somewhat regular updates, and now a fucking SpongeBob SquarePants brand deal. There's honestly no words to describe this bizarre scene. So there you have it, folks. Our reigning champion remains on top, holding their title as the most epic of the epic roller coaster VR games. Yep. Thanks for coming. No refunds on tickets. And that is the end of the video. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking with me. This was one that I've been wanting to do for a while. I was kind of not exactly planning, but thinking about doing it as like an official anniversary to do exactly a year after the original post, since this was sort of the start of a very silly road for me making VR videos and stuff like that. But you know, things just kind of happened, so I wasn't able to get it all completed the way I was hoping to. But it is finally done. It is finally here, and I'm so happy to have it out for you. It is still, like I said in the video, really fucking funny that Epic Fun was just completely abandoned. It feels very much like something that should have been abandoned before release. But here we are with ourselves a lovely little silly experience. Another pointless garbage video of mine. And I have some lovely people to thank for this existing in the first place. Thank you so much, Showdown, Artemis, and Elegantris, for your support. This could not happen without you guys. Without all of you, honestly. Those of you that watch, those of you that like, those of you that subscribe, those of you that share, and especially those of you that support me by becoming members. It is such an incredible thing that there's people out there that actually enjoy this stupid shit that I make. I mean, who the hell could say that they have people that enjoy listening to them talk about random fucking VR roller coasters? But you guys are here, and I am here for you. So thank you so very much. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day and or night. And we'll see you next time. Bye.